Hello, hello, and welcome back to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. I am your host, Jessica Gerlach, and today we have a strong female tech executive who really understands the no excuse mindset and prioritizes her physical and mental health on a weekly basis by enjoying her passion for dance. By the age of 22, Nasheen has lived in 3 continents, learned to speak 3 languages, and began to embark on a journey that led to 3 careers. Nasheen Liu is a mom, a wife, a seasoned and sought after executive in the tech industry with over 2 decades of success in the industry. But even with all Nasheen has to worry about in life and in her job, she still makes time consistently to improve her physical and mental health by dancing. I wanted to have Nasheen come on today to talk about how she prioritizes, even with such a busy schedule, how she doesn't use any excuses, how she's always willing to learn, and how she really is a strong woman. So please let's welcome Nasheen Liu to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. Hey, Nasheen, how are you?
Hi, Jesse. So great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. So I want to just make it clear. I do trade Nasheen. I am Nasheen's trader. And we'll get into that a little later, but I just wanted to clarify that. But what does being strong mean to you, Nasheen?
Well, the immediate word that comes to mind is unbreakable or resilient, both mentally and physically. And I like to think being resilient is not something that you're born with, is actually like what Sheryl Sandberg, the former COO of Facebook, once said, that resilience is a muscle which gets stronger with practice. And what that really means to me is the courage to face adversity, the desire to get out of the comfort zone, and the ability to recover from setback or failure. And oftentimes, when we think about being strong or being resilient, we tend to think about the capacity to endure the hardships, which is important. But I also think more so is our ability to kind of rise above it, our ability to grow from the setbacks. And the last point I will make is I'm fortunate enough to have met so many strong people, and yourself included. And I think they all tend to exhibit the following qualities, which is have high emotional intelligence, empathy, self awareness, and also to have the ability to inspire and uplift people around them.
Well, I think definitely strong people try to lift people up rather than put them down. So that's definitely a quality of being strong. And I agree with everything you said. Strength, what I wanted to make clear to everybody is not an external feeling. It's definitely work, internal work that we put into ourselves to be able to be strong because I think a lot of strong people had to not be strong to get strong and we've had to have a journey. So I want you to share a little bit of your journey. How did you become in the tech industry? How did you become to where you are?
Oh, how much time do we have? But but I'll make it quick. You said it perfectly in the intro that I've had 3 careers, and in fact, I started as to be trained as an academic, and I went from a university environment pursuing my post-secondary degree and higher education to just get across to the industry just because during that time it was another economic downturn and I needed to find something to pay my bills. So I went into a non-tech industry and eventually decided that I wanted to pursue tech because that is such a fascinating and exciting industry with a lot of opportunities. And of course, it took me quite a while to get into tech industry without that background. And then 10 years and 3 tech companies later, I felt I was, on a great path in the corporate world, but there's really something inside of me that tells me I really needed to do something else. And entrepreneurship had always been a desire that's burning in the back of my head. And the opportunity happens, and I was fortunate enough to partner with two other gentlemen who are well known in the technology and media industry, and we started the IT Media Group 13 years ago. And the IT Media Group is a tech media company, and we connect senior tech leaderships across the industries through content and programs and collaboration opportunities to really enhance their collaboration and personal brand as a welcoming side effect. So that's essentially what I do. I run a tech media company, and it's been 13 years.
So you run a tech media company and you're a busy woman, but how many years ago did you find dance? Because you really, right now, how many hours a week are you dancing? Can I ask?
12.
Right. So you have a full-time job, but you still make time for your physical and your mental health improvements, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and so when did you get into dance?
So over 10 years ago, I guess it all started, I would call it as a perfect storm. And in 2013, unfortunately, I lost my dad to cancer. And having been his caretaker previously for 2 years, I was certainly, exhausted both emotionally and physically. Compounding that was the IT Media Group, the company I helped to co-found, was only a 2-year-old startup. And I also had a teenage daughter at home. So as you can imagine, there's this myriad of demands that's coming at me, both from business world and from family life. And I just at some point felt really drained and exhausted. And I just needed to do something for myself that made me feel good. And I remembered many years prior, I used to work with a young lady who used to tell me every Monday evening that she had to leave a little bit earlier, like right on time at 5 p.m., because she had to go to dance at the studio. And I was asking her questions about, oh, what kind of dance? And she told me, oh, it's all sorts: ballet, jazz, contemporary, tap, hip hop, whatnot. And she had been dancing there for 15 years, and she had encouraged me to come and to try a class. But as you can imagine, life just gets ahead of us. And I kept finding excuses for why I don't have time to go. And at that perfect moment, many years later, I just thought, what the heck? I need to pick up the phone and give the studio a call and go try a class. So that started my dance journey. I went to my first class, and it was a jazz class. I fell in love with it right away. And 10 years later, immediately, actually a year later, I bought a membership so I could take unlimited classes. And 10 years later, I've been committing to 10 to 12 hours a week. And I just danced at our studio's annual showcase in 13 numbers. And to your point of how do I make time? And I think life is messy. We're all dealing with many demands. But at some point, my guiding principle is to ask myself the question, what am I not willing to compromise? And the answer to that question is my health and my well being. Because without it, I'm completely useless in giving joy, in receiving joy. And I can't be of service to the people that need me and who I love, and I certainly can't enjoy the fruit of my labor. So that has always been my guiding light throughout the years. When I'm confused, when I feel overwhelmed, then I ask the same question: what am I not willing to give up? What am I not willing to compromise?
And you know what? 100%. But what makes you different than a lot of people is the back. when you use the excuses, the time, and people use time as an excuse to not prioritize their health all the time, and especially business people who just, just get lost in work. Do you have any, like, how do you feel about that time as an excuse to not be able to prioritize?
Well, first of all, I think we all have the same amount of hours a day. We all have 24 hours. How do we do with the time given to us? It's completely up to us. And oftentimes we make excuses about, I'll do that later. And to me, there's never a better time to start than now. And there's, in fact, a say in Chinese, which is tomorrow is a lazy person's excuse. So a lazy person or a procrastinator has unlimited tomorrows. And that is so true because I've been in that shoes and I'm still in that situation once in a while when I really don't want to do something. I'll just tell myself, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes the next day and you never get to it. And I think getting to that point and just get started is a big step. And the way that I try to do it is reframing the mindset of one day to day one.
Yeah.
And once you get day one started, the rest is easy.
Yeah. You know what? I think that people just need to switch their mindset to that. But do you find that, I also want to bring up that on top of dance, you also started training with me and you started strength training and circuit training, which is something you were completely new to. How did you feel about growing and learning a new type of exercise to improve your body?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up, Jesse, because as you remember, maybe close to 5 years ago, when I first reached out to you and had that first conversation, I was pretty clear about the fact that I did not like working out. And I'm an active person and I pride myself for being active. I've done yoga for years. I've been dancing for 10, 11 years. And, I ride my bikes, I hike, I do all sorts of things. But I was just not enjoying the idea of going to a gym and working out with the machine. And for years, I've had that mental block. Sometimes we tell ourselves you're just not good at something. And working out was one thing I conditioned my mind to think that I wasn't good at until 5 years ago. The excuse was that our studio was going to be celebrating our 30th anniversary. And every major milestone year, we would put on a big show with a gala and everything. So my motivation was, since I was going to be doing 12 numbers, I really wanted to look good. And specifically, I wanted to tone my arms. And I was aware that I didn't have any upper body strength. I could not do a pull up to save my life. So that was the motivation for me to reach out to you. And I was very specific. And I said, look, Jesse, I don't have to lose weight. That's not my goal.
Yeah.
I hate working out. I just wanted to tone my arms. What can you do to help me?
Mm-hmm.
And what really impressed me was you were such a great listener. And you still are. That's why I'm still doing this with you every week. And you weren't trying to push stuff at me. You weren't trying to, give me a set of things that you think I might need. You really listened to my wants and needs. And then you designed a program that's entirely catered to my goals. And fast forward, what happened was we started doing in-person workout, and a few sessions later, pandemic happened and everything started locking down. And you, as many other business owners, had no choice but to pivot very quickly and pivot your training online. And even though the showcase that year didn't happen, nor did the showcase happen the following year, nor did we get to, in fact, go to the studio in person to dance in person for a couple of years, but I kept up with you online. We converted that entire training regiment online, and still till this day, because I've enjoyed it so much, it gave me so much more flexibility. And we didn't convert it back, and we kept it on for nearly 5 years. And I've enjoyed the results, I have to tell you, because it's not something that happens overnight.
No. Yeah.
But over time, I did feel stronger, and I have received compliments. And I just told you
Mhm.
last week or the week before that someone said to me, "Hey, are you working out, or have you been working out?" And to me, that's one of the biggest compliments that I've gotten. It's not about, oh, have you lost weight or this and that, but oh, have you been working out? That means it's truly working. But it's also not just about the superficial stuff. How I look is how I feel and my energy level. And to the day, I have to be honest with you, I still don't love the concept of working out if I have to do it by myself. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm sticking with you, because for me, having done this for nearly 5 years, I'm familiar with the sets. I'm
Yeah.
familiar with what I have to do. I mean, you do make adjustments every week here and there, but I kind of know the routine. But the
Yeah.
reason I'm still sticking with you is you are my accountability partner. You
Yeah.
are my accountability coach, and you are the motivator that keeps me going.
And that's
So
part of my
thank
job.
you.
Like, I appreciate it, but that's part of my job. And you know what? Like, I understand that people don't like working out. And you know what? I've realized it more and more since I've been in the industry. But I also realized that it's not just about the working out. It's about focusing on yourself for 45 to an hour, like every week, just to say, I don't care what's going on in work. I just need to work on myself. And it's building that inner strength. And then when you get the compliments, that's an external validation. But the internal validation is that you feel more confident and you're stronger and you like the way your body looks. And it's all a work, our bodies are the greatest project we could ever work on. But you also have to, going back to the beginning, you also have to prioritize the time to make it. And I also want to point out that, people think they just have to work out to lose weight. But that's not the point. You didn't have to lose weight. You had a totally different goal. And we just adjusted the workout to your goal. And, I think I don't know, people want to stay in their comfort zone. But when you really get out of your comfort zone is when you grow. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And in fact, every single time I work out with you, I'm still experiencing that,
Yeah.
because we do the high intensity interval training,
Yeah.
short for HIIT, and it's a 3 sets of 4
Mhm.
exercises, and each exercise is 3 reps.
Mhm.
So usually the first set to me is the hardest,
Yeah.
because I'm like looking at the time. Are we there yet? It's not even 15 minutes. Oh my goodness, there's still 2 sets left. It's that mental block, but it's
Yeah.
also more physically intense, the
Yeah.
very first set. And then once I get through the second set, I'm like, hey, you know what? I could do this. I could
Yeah.
do another 2 sets if you ask me, but I'm just joking. Please don't ask me. So that's the thing.
You can
It's
always
I'm
push
finding,
yourself.
yeah, it's I'm finding, as with everything, is getting started,
Yeah.
and then to really be patient, be persistent for the first little bit is the hardest,
Yeah.
because people tend to quit
Yeah.
during the beginning portion. And with a workout like that, especially with something that I wasn't mentally conditioned to love to begin with, it forces me to get through that process of building endurance, building resilience every single time. And I think once we look at things like that, and especially enjoying the accomplishment once it's over, once
Mhm.
it's done, it's incredibly liberating and empowering.
But you could take that same feeling and put it towards business. It's like putting it towards a project, or, it's like that first part is like, anything you need to accomplish that's really hard. It's not going to be easy like that at first to, get used to it. But, when you start to see the internal results, and then the external validation from other people is the cherry on top, I always say. But, and that's like, somebody's boss saying you did a great job. Like, you could kind of compare that. And I think that resilience and that strong mindset can be taken from a workout right back to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing. I think that you working out, you even learning to change and adapt and pivot, those skills go right back to business as well. But
Well said.
so I want to ask you, what if there's business people, or people, corporate people in the industry, you really do a really good job of prioritizing your physical health. And you did find a passion for dance, which is very important. But how do you continue it for over 10 years? Like, can you give any tips to business executives who might need help prioritizing their physical and mental health?
Well, it's interesting because just the other day I was having a dinner conversation with my husband, and a very hypothetical question. I asked him, I said, "Hey, if you knew you only had a year to live, what would you do?" And we both had a quite a fascinating discussion. I mean, some of those "what would you do's" are not practical, like blowing away our money, for instance.
Yeah.
But others, like, I really wanted to spend more time with my loved ones, with my families, my friends. I really would love to experience life to its fullest. I really love to pursue the one thing I would love to do, my passion, and that's been on the back burner. And ultimately, in reflection, we're like, okay, many of those things on the list, we could do it now. What's stopping us from doing it?
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes when we look at things, we tend to get overwhelmed and swept up by the urgencies, not priorities. Or we tend to confuse with things that are urgent than things that are truly important. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning, is what is the one thing you can't afford to lose? And that is your health, and that is your well-being. And I read a lot, and especially books about health and wellness. And there are four key factors that will give us a very healthy and enriched life. And those four things are, you know, your the quality time, and you're basically your diet, right? So the diet, the exercise, the sleep quality, and your social connections.
Yeah.
So those are the four key elements that make up the quality of your life.
Yeah.
So many people have the social connections in the business world because they it's just by virtue of their jobs. But do they have the health? Do they have enough sleep? Do they have the right diet?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably no.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I'm not perfect at everything. I still need to work more on my sleep. My sleep isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
But all the other three factors, I'm pretty proud of what I have achieved. So, quite simply, is know what matters to you. Know what you can't afford to lose and compromise.
Yeah. And I think that goes to the, even finding balance in life is like you can't throw yourself. Like a lot of business people throw themselves into the all or nothing mindset. And that all or nothing mindset is you can't, it's not for longevity. And if you want to have longevity in a career or in life, you have to find that balance. And in life, it comes back to prioritizing your mental and physical health is a very important aspect, no matter if you're a business executive or a stay-at-home mom or whatever you do, a baker. If you want a healthy, long life, it is so important to prioritize your mental and physical health. And I wanted Nasheen to come on to show that it is possible for executives and business executives to take that time and say, you know what, I'm not going to throw myself completely, 20 hours a day, working. I'm going to take that couple hours and dance, or I'm going to, blow off steam. I'm going to do a workout because that will make you a better businesswoman in the future. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also to commit to something like a working out or dance,
Yeah.
that can help rewire your priorities. And what I mean is, first of all, just I always say that dance makes everything better
Yeah.
because it certainly makes me more tolerable. When you dance or when you exercise, you develop or you gain more happiness hormone or serotonin, for
Yeah.
instance. And I feel when I'm driving on the road, even if I get cut off or something at work that's pissing me off, and I'm more tolerable. And I'm like, yeah, so what? Like, just let it be, and this shall pass. And the second element is it also helps me prioritize better because I know I have to stick to a schedule. For instance, most of my dance classes start at 6:30 in the evening, which aren't too bad because I don't live that far from the studio, but there's one day a week that my dance class starts at 5:30. So for that day, I have to cut everything off by 5. I have to make sure no matter what, how much is on my plate, I'm done by 5. So it really makes you look at what you do at work in a more efficient way, and it helps you prioritize, help you set boundaries, and helps you to say no at times, which may not necessarily be a bad thing.
Well, I think healthy boundaries are also important in maintaining a healthy, maintaining your inner strength is like having healthy boundaries, knowing what's good for you and putting yourself first so that you could be a better wife, a better mom, a better businesswoman, a better person in general. And yeah, as you said, more tolerable. Um, but I want to end it there. I want to thank you so much, Nasheen, for coming on the 5 Foot Strong podcast. I think you are a great example that it is possible. Time should not be an excuse. Time is not an excuse. It is possible if you want to live a healthy lifestyle and live a longer life. You need to prioritize your health and prioritize your physical and mental health both. But yes, I thank you so much for coming on. And is there anything you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to thank you for what you've done to help me in the last 5 years. It's really appreciated, for anyone out there who are thinking about getting healthier, both physically and mentally. Call Jessie, and I promise she has not paid me anything to
No.
say those things. But to be just on a serious note for everyone else out there, just get started.
Yeah.
You will feel better once you start.
Well, I think that's a great way to end. And thank you so much, Nasheen.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yo.